to tonight's webinar, 5 Strategies to Eliminate Distractions. I'm Dr. Pat, the presenter, and I'm so happy that you decided to tune in this evening. Before we get started, I want to review a few navigation tips. You should have 2 images on your screen, and the image I think that is full at this time should be the slides. But you can click on the image of the presenter or the slide and toggle back and forth if you so choose. At the top, there is a section that says questions. And if you have questions this evening, please click on that and type in your question. And I will certainly try to answer your question during the broadcast if I can, and definitely at the end of the broadcast. I will provide question and answers in a Q&A sheet that will be available tomorrow. And I've got great news. A replay of the broadcast will be available immediately afterwards. So, are you ready? Let's get started. I'd like to tell you just a little bit about myself. I am the founder and the owner of the Outcomes Management Group. We are an organizational management consulting organization in Columbus, Ohio, and we are going to be celebrating a milestone in October, 25 years in business. And we've had the opportunity to be inside over 150 organizations all around the country and South Africa. And we have touched over 50,000 individuals. The company bears the name Outcomes Management Group because I am very passionate about outcomes. And over these 25 years, looking at results, I have found that when organizations and people stay focused on 4 key characteristics that form a cute acronym B.E.S.T, they are able to achieve extraordinary results fast. And so that's what I've been about for the past 10 years, is bringing out the best in individuals and organizations. And today I am very much focused on helping individuals to live their best life now. And that means a life that is on purpose, that's balanced, that's abundant, and is having an impact on others. So I want to find out about you. There's a chat button at the top of the screen, and I'd love for you to chat in. Let me know what made you decide that you wanted to be a part of this webinar. Are you feeling tired and overwhelmed and stressed? Or what about a little dissatisfied that you haven't accomplished some goals that you have been working towards? Or maybe it's been taking you a little bit longer than expected. Maybe you have been a little afraid that you're not going to succeed and be as successful as you hoped. Or maybe you're just here because you want to take charge and be in control so you really can live your best life. How about chatting in and let me know why you're here? Oh, good. I see somebody wants to be their best and need to refocus. Great. And center on your goals. Anyone else want to let me know why you're here? Okay, a better use of your time. Good. Okay, well, you can still chat in. I am all about outcomes, so let's take a look at what it is that I want to make sure that we achieve. Oh, someone else said they want to complete a project. Good. So here are the outcomes. I want you to walk away being very clear about why you absolutely want to eliminate distractions. And I want to increase your awareness regarding how often you're being distracted. I know we all are bombarded with all kinds of stimuli, but I hope after tonight you're going to see that it might even be occurring more often than you thought. And the impact of those distractions, I want you to be able to recognize how that impact is really preventing you from achieving your goals and getting extraordinary results. And of course, what you're really probably most interested is what can you do? What are some strategies that you can implement so that you can take charge and be in control? And I'd like for us to conclude thinking about some next steps. So let's jump right into the why. Well, the why all starts with the person who said, I want to make better use of my time, because it really is all about time. And I think that we don't really spend enough, I'm going to use the word time, focusing on that. We are here on an assignment. What we don't know is how long we have to complete our assignment. And because we don't know that, we really need to make sure that we are making the best use of every moment that we have. What I know and you know is that we've got about 86,400 seconds every day that we have to make sure that we're making the best use of those seconds. Now, when we get distracted, you can see in the picture on the slide, it gets us off track. We start going places that we weren't intending to go, that doesn't relate to what's important to us. Sometimes we have to turn around and go in another direction. The bottom line is that once we get distracted, it has impacted our speed. And you definitely then are moving slower than you should towards your goals. And what we know is that for sure, everybody is probably, there's about 2 hours that we're engaged getting off track. And just think if you could bring those 2 hours back and have those 2 hours focusing on what's important to you, what you could really accomplish. Now, here's the other reason why. It is that when we get distracted, there is a likelihood that we're going to make mistakes. We're not going to produce high quality products or work, et cetera. And there are some financial implications. So here's a couple examples. Here are a couple examples. The other day, I was printing up some slides. I was going to be going to a convention, sharing some work, and the phone rang, and I started talking to the person who called me, and I needed to get my slides done right away. Now, I should not have allowed myself to get distracted, right, with the conversation, but I did, and I thought, okay, I'll still go ahead and print while I'm talking. And I hit print, and right away, mistake, because I had not told it what formatted I wanted the slides in. And it started whipping out these slides all in color, all full page. And what is that? A big mistake that also has some financial implications. Another example, I was out walking the other morning and I was listening to a podcast, and I got all caught up into the podcast and almost had a little misstep. And the good thing was I didn't fall. But just think, if I had fallen and if I had injured myself, it could be a trip to the doctor, and that could end up also being some cost, additional cost. You've probably had times where, right, you were doing something and you didn't get enough time to proof what you were doing because you were doing something else. And then later you saw that there was a misspelled word, or there wasn't the right thing, picture that you wanted in your paper. So the quality of what you did wasn't what you expected. So that's the why. We really want to watch distractions, because those things happen as a result. And I told you that I'm all about B.E.S.T. And so when we think about B.E.S.T. and the 4 areas that you're focusing on when you're being your best, all the way to the left-hand side of that slide, if you're focusing on bright, you're targeting your image. And when you target your image, you're better able to attract. Well, guess what? If your distractions end up causing you to make some mistakes that end up reflecting poorly on your image, then you're going to attract the wrong people, or you're not going to be able to attract the people that you really desire. Excellence is about having standards, and when we adhere to our standards, then we're able to grow. Satisfaction is focusing on meeting your expectations and others, and the outcome is energy, which it takes to get things done. And then there we have it, the big one. It's all about time. And when we don't focus on time, we're not able to seize opportunities. So when we are distracted, we can't be our best, and we can't get extraordinary results fast. So I hope you got the why. And now I want us to jump right into some of the things that you can do. The first strategy is tied to time. And the first thing that I want you to think about, and this is not really now the strategy itself, but I want you to adjust your thoughts about time. I'd like to say, I want you to put on your best mindset. And so when you wake up and get ready to start your day, I want you to think about, what do you want to achieve for the day? Not what do you want to do today? So instead of creating a to-do list right away where we're listing things like, I've got to drop off my child to the school, or I've got to fix breakfast, or I am going to start a project. I want you to think about, what do you want to achieve? So maybe achieving is, I want to make sure that I get my child to school on time. Maybe what I want to achieve the day is, I want to get 5 people to sign up for my webinar. So you want to really think about, what do I want to achieve? And when you get very clear about what you want to achieve for the day, and you want that to guide your thinking, then I want you to also think about, what's the best time for me to do things? So if you're a morning person, then you want to look at what you want to achieve today. And remember, if I want to get 5 people to sign up for my webinar, then probably first thing in the morning, the things that I need to do around that would be the things that I want to focus on, because that's the best time for me. Some people, it might be in the afternoon, it might be early evening, but you want to think about that, because you want to be as productive as you can. And when you do things, is important. And the third thing that's important in your best mindset is to always think about, how much time am I going to need to do something? So if I'm going to try to get 5 people to sign up, then how much time do I need to allocate for that? 30 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, whatever. So we want to do that. So you got it? Best mindset. It's all about, what do I want to achieve? Not surprised, right? Because I'm all about outcomes. And we want to start our day getting very focused about what we really want to achieve, and not what we want to do. So with that as our backdrop, let's look at the very first thing that I want you to focus on around your time. Now, this first strategy is really about you taking charge of your time, and that means setting some time parameters. So rather than just letting things happen, we're going to control those things. And you need to think about, what are all the things that distract me? So I get my list of distractions, and then I want you to spend some time thinking about, how much time am I really engaged in that distraction? So that's a homework assignment that you'll need to do, so that you can really adjust to the strategies that I'm going to share with you. So here's what we know now about the key distractions that I want you to keep track of time. And the first one is the cell phone, because we can't live without it, right? When I get out my door, if I have left my cell phone, I almost have a heart attack. I've got to get back in and get that cell phone. Well, here is the bad news, is that our cell phones, just the presence of a cell phone, decreases our cognitive capacity. In other words, it makes it difficult for us to complete things and tasks just even the presence of the cell phone. So when you have your cell phone and it's turned off or it's face down, it doesn't matter. It's still a distraction. And what was interesting in some research that was conducted with students who said that they weren't even thinking about their cell phone, they still had difficulty processing various tasks. And what that suggested is that even unconsciously, we're having an impact about our phones. We know that there's about 11 listeners are able to process all of that consciously. So cell phones are a problem. So now how are we going to get in control of them? What can you do? Here are 3 things that I want you to do. The first one is that I want you to establish some free time breaks from your phone. So remember back to the day and the things that you want to achieve. If it's something that's really very important that you really know that you need to get done, it's time to have a phone break when you're working on that. And that means put that phone in another room, somewhere else, nowhere near you, so that you can actually get the job done. So phone-free time breaks are necessary. What we also know with our phones is that we get calls and we need to manage that. So every time the phone rings, we don't need to pick up the phone and start responding or even looking at the phone. So I want you to think about when is it that I want to make sure that I'm available to take calls. So for me, I think about depending upon what I want to achieve for the day, maybe I'm available first thing in the morning and the latter part of the day. Sometimes I decide that I'm available in the middle of the day and I'm available at the end of the day. But you want to decide when you're going to be available to take calls. Now, I know in your work environment, you may not have that liberty to make those decisions. But if you do have that liberty, I want you to really make sure that you log in and decide this is when I'm going to manage taking calls. Now, what about returning calls? Once people have called and, you listen and you got your voicemail, you want to listen for who's most important for me to talk to. If I'm expecting someone to give me some information or there's some things that I need, then of course you want to prioritize who you're going to return your call. And you want to, again, establish times when you're going to just make sure that you return phone calls. So with the phone, we got to put some time around it because otherwise you're getting distracted with all of these incoming stimuli. What about it? Are you guys having trouble managing your phone, getting calls? Anybody? Chat in and let me know. Are you having any challenges around that? Okay, well, I'll see. Maybe you'll, somebody said absolutely. Okay, good. Yeah, that's a biggie. So here's the other biggie, right? It's all about social media. We gotta put some time around it. Here's the deal about social media. Everybody has decided that they know what to do to get us trapped. And the way that we're trapped on all of our platforms is everybody is added. Okay, we have photos. We love to look at pictures, video, and they've made it so easy now we can live stream at any time. And so looking at videos, are there all the time for us. So once we get onto these platforms, it's all kinds of ways to get us to spend more time there. what we find is that people are spending on the average 2 hours on social media platforms. 2 hours. That's the average. And some people spend more than 2 hours, and at least an hour. Most people are caught up on the social media platforms. So how do we get control over that? I'd like for you to get control over that by saying, okay, here's when I'm going to get out there and I'm going to post and check platforms. So when are you going to do that? And I want you to think about how much time do I want to engage in doing that? So am I going to spend 20 minutes, 30 minutes? Clearly, I don't want to spend 2 hours. So I want to really think about which platforms and when do I want to engage in those platforms. So you want to get control, because it's so easy to get out on a site, start seeing somebody's birthday and reading about what everybody was saying was happening with the birthday, and then it takes you to something else, and then you're off to something else, and you're off to something else. So we want to make sure that we set the time. This is when I'm going to do it, and here's how much time I'm going to spend. The next area with our time that we have to put some limits on is email. Oh my gosh. Here is where we can also get into a lot of distractions with email. Again, the research is showing us that we spend at least 2 hours reading and answering emails. Can you imagine? 2 hours on the platforms, 2 hours answering emails. People also waste time over checking their emails. So this constantly going back in to see, did somebody send me something? We also find that people have wasted time because they have, I tell my husband, this is his one that's a problem, a full inbox. Hopefully none of you are like that you allow yourself to get 200 emails sitting in your email, in your email box, your inbox, because again, that causes you to lose about 27 minutes a day, the more emails that you have sitting there in your box. The other thing that we're spending time on with our emails is trying to make decisions about the email. When we read the email, what am I going to do with it? Am I going to keep the email? Am I going to do anything with it? Do I have to respond? So there we have more time that we're losing on our email. And we also just have to making decisions about where to file the emails. Some people create folders. And so then that gets to be another thing. Am I going to put it in my Hampton folder? Does this go in my sorority folder? Does this go in my work folder? And so we have all these folders, and that also creates some challenges around our time. So what are some of the things that you can do? Number one, I hope none of you have the notifications turned on to let you know when you're getting an email. If you do, you want to turn that off. You don't want to get zinged every time so that you know that you're getting an email, because that again is a distraction. We also want to make sure that when you look at something, you want to deal with it right then. Don't open it up and then close it. You want to right now read it, decide what you're going to do with it. Either delete it, file it, or put it somewhere to be managed. But don't let it sit there. You want to use the search function so that when you want to find something. So if you have 10 emails and you want to see if your boss just sent you an email, then just type his name in and let it come up. Don't scroll up and down, trying to find it, can't find it, going back and forth, up and down and around. No way. We want to get away from that one. You want to make sure, now here's a really important one. You remember those folders that I was talking about? Don't have more than 2 folders. This was really interesting. There is a law called the Hicks law. not my law, but the name was Hick, and it's a Hicks law. And what the Hicks law is, it teaches you that the more choices you have, right, the more difficult it is for you to make decisions, and it takes you longer. So if we have 7 folders or 10 folders, and now something came in, I open my email, and now I'm trying to decide, where does it go? Is this going to go in this folder or that folder? So it should be 2 folders. You should have a folder where you're going to archive something that's important, and a folder with the things that are going to need to take action. So it's 2 folders. Therefore, you can make a decision real fast, move on, and on to the next thing. You really want to avoid processing irrelevant information. Do you know that about 60% of the emails you get are totally irrelevant? So let's not waste time opening up stuff that really it has nothing to do with anything. So if somebody sends you something, or you get something on, tires, and you don't need any tires, delete. Don't waste your time. So email, we absolutely positively got to get our arms around making sure that we sort of do these things so that we can control our time here around our emails. One other thing before we go to this one, I was just trying to see if I had mentioned it. I'm going to go back to the emails. When you get ready to make some decisions too about what you're going to open in your email, I want to suggest that, again, if you're looking to hear from someone and if you need information, so I tend to scroll down to see, like, if I'm looking to get something from a client, then I look for that and I open that up first. So I even prioritize the things that I want to make sure that I open up so that I take care of the things that I need to right away. So again, time management around emails. Now, here's the other one. I hate this now that we get all of these pop-ups that come as soon as you are doing something. All of a sudden, there's a pop-up. Now, I look at it, and a pop-up comes, and it's about some, great new dress or something. It's offered here. The goal here, people have found out we like to win things. So, they get your attention, an opportunity to win $100 gift card. So that causes you to do what? Read and pay attention. They know we like discounts. So then the first thing you see is 50% off. And when you see 50% off, you read, distracted. They know we like free. So as soon as you see you can get something free, we're into it. And they know to tell us you can get free shipping. So what I'd like to suggest that you do around pop-ups and things like that is to really jot down, like if I see something that looks like I might be interested in it, Amazon's got something good going on about whatever, I just jot it down. I don't try to go off and look at it, but I make note and I set aside a shopping time. So, how we like to go shopping. So set up a time that's all you're going to do. That's the time that I'm going to go and pay attention to all these great deals and opportunities and so on. But don't let it happen every time that something comes up on your screen, because it will definitely create a problem for you. Now, here's the good news about time. Now, the phone, remember I said, the phone is a problem, but I love the phone because it helps me to keep control of my time. So in the clock function, when I set up, so remember we're going to go on, I've decided that I'm going to do Facebook for 20 minutes. I put my timer on. I go right in on and I set it up. And so while I'm working away on Facebook, when 20 minutes is up, all of a sudden it bings and I get a chance to stop right then. Now, if I still want to keep going, I get a chance to assess, why is it taking me longer to do what it is I'm working on? Because I chose the amount of time that I was going to spend. But again, this is just invaluable to me, is to really keep track of my time. And I don't I don't end up wasting and spending a whole lot of time doing things that I don't need to. So use that function. Now, here's one that we can't really sort of set our alarms to. People, and we do get people interruptions, and we do want to set some time parameters around that. Here's what we know is that when people come in your space, they want something, and they come when it's convenient for them. So now the question is, how do you manage that so that it doesn't become a distraction? The first thing that you really want to do is to find out what the person needs. So if someone comes in and say, hey, Pat, I need you to do something for me. I want to get an understanding of what it is. You want to quickly determine how important that is to that person, to you, and then you're going to make some decisions about time. So I immediately can decide that if it's really important, it needs to get taken care of. I'm going to say, okay, Clayton, I've got 5 minutes that we can spend trying to talk about whatever. But I am going to put some time on it. I'm not going to just get into the conversation about it. So remember, you want to always make sure that the person knows that, that there's a time period that we're going to spend on this. The other thing that you want to do is, let's just say it really isn't that big of a deal and you really have something you need to do. Then you're going to say to the person, hey, I really want to help you with that. I've got a few things that I need to take care of, and you and I can get together about that. Hey, what about, look at your calendar, end of the day, tomorrow, whatever. But you reschedule it, but you don't let them distract you right now, right at that point in time. If you can get around it, you want to navigate, reschedule it, but not let people get used to the fact that they could just come in and cause you to stop everything to take care of whatever their emergency is. So people interruptions, you definitely want to manage those. Okay, so number one, it's all about you thinking now about time and making sure you're putting limits on it and you're tracking it to make sure that you are spending the time on what it is that you need to, that's important to you so that you can achieve your goals. Well, let's quickly go to number 2. The second strategy is now all focused on you, because in order for you to get things done, you have to be in your best shape. So what are the things in this strategy? I call them attend to the big 4. And here are the big 4. The first one is that you want to make sure that in the course of the day that you spend some time meditating. Now, the good thing about meditating is it quiets your mind. It gets you focused. It eliminates distractions. So good time sometimes to meditate is at the beginning of the day. Sometimes when things are getting chaotic, you want to stop and you want to meditate so that you can bring yourself back, center yourself. But meditation is critical in the course of a day to get yourself centered. The second area is hydration. Now, this one is good. We know that they say drink all this water that'll help you with your weight. Well, now I'm going to tell you water is going to help you with your distractions because when you're dehydrated, research shows that guess what? You lose focus. Now, I've got an example that is really not with a good outcome. A friend of mine got dehydrated recently and didn't realize that he was dehydrated. So when he got ready to stand up, he wasn't able to stand up. He wasn't able to focus, couldn't stand up, and he fell, hit his head, and had a severe injury. So dehydration causes us to lose our focus, and we don't want that. So we've got to drink water, and we want to make sure we're drinking it so that we can stay focused, and we're going to be able then to be alert. Get moving is also important, so that you can, again, be alert and not sluggish and having to force yourself to attend it. Because remember, all that makes it take longer for you to get things done. So I set up breaks. I set up 15-minute breaks every day. I have at least four 15-minute breaks. Now, my breaks are great because the breaks allow me to do things like I can drink my water on the break, and I can walk around on the break. I can stretch on the break. I can exercise on the break. I might do a quick exercise. So breaks are good for moving about. And so I want you to make sure that you build that in, because that's going to allow you to have the energy, and you're going to be able to stay focused. One time I was out of town, and I was working on something, and I just worked. And I lost my ability to really focus, because it was just too much intentional work. And so I learned from that I have to take breaks. I have to move about, and I can kill two birds with one stone in that time. So putting together some time for breaks is good. And then here's another one that's really important, and that is sleep, that we have to get at least 7-9 hours of sleep so that we can be at our best and able to be alert so that we can get things done. So the big four, strategy number 2, absolutely impacts controlling distractions. Just think about it. When you're tired, you can hardly pay attention and easily get caught up into things. So make sure, big 4, strategy number 2. Number 3, it's all about your environment. It's about your place and your space, and you want your environment to work for you, because that's where we spend most of our time. And it can also be a place that fosters distractions. So here's some of the things that you want to look at when you think about your environment. Is your environment comfortable? Because if it's not, then it can become a distraction. Now, I'm talking now, when I say free from distractions, not those distractions that we're talking about that automatically ends up happening with regard to the phone and the email. Clutter could be a distraction in an environment. So you're going to need to look around and see, are there things in my space that is creating a distraction? You also want to make sure that in your environment, you can create focus. Remember, we're talking about your goals. We're talking about making sure you accomplish your dreams. So what do you have around you that is going to help you to stay focused on your goals? If they're not there, then you can easily get distracted and get off on to something else. So you want to make sure in your space, there's something there to create focus. On mine, I have best day ever in front of me. I have a nice little glass that sits up on my desk that says, be your best. So there are things that are in my environment that are placed in different places to remind me of what's important to me, my goals. So quotes, different things you want to think about. Where can I place those so that I can stay focused and it's going to remind me? You want to write a book, maybe the cover of your book. When I was writing mine, I had it up in front of me because it motivated me to get the inside of that book written. So you want to create focus. And then you want to also think about how can you create an environment that allows you to be productive. So that where you place things, you want it to be where you can easily get to it and so on. So environment becomes really critical. And here are the things that I want you to look at another time to see what you can do to make sure your environment is going to help you not be distracted. Noise, sometimes noise is in the environment and that becomes distracting to some people. So again, you know, do your little assessment, see if there's something you need to do around controlling noise. Space is an issue. It can be distracting if, you know, I don't have enough space for things. Colors. Make sure that, you know, there may be, I don't know, there may be some colors that are distracting to you. And so you want to make sure you avoid having those colors in your space. You want to have the colors that are going to sort of keep you focused. Furniture, you want to look at that. Look at the type of furniture that you have. Technologies, remember, oh my gosh, today, eliminate some of that. It could be distracting, you know, don't have it immediately available and accessible to you. You know, don't have a television in your space if you're going to get distracted by, oh, it's a good time for me to turn on and check the news out. Artifacts, what kind of, and that gets at the quotes or glasses or things that you can have. But I want you to just really look around you. And that means in your workspace, that means at home, wherever you are, you want to really make sure that that environment works for you so that you're not getting distracted just by being in that particular space. So let's look at number 4. People hate this one when I tell them that the strategy for eliminating distractions is to stop multitasking. Do I have any multitaskers out here? Any multitaskers? Do I see a yes? Yep, multitaskers. Well, here is why tasking is a no-no. It impacts our ability to attend, and it impacts our memory. It impacts our ability to get things done. Believe it or not, we've been told that we're more productive because we're multitasking. Research shows us that we're 30% less productive because we're multitasking. The quality of work is subpar, and multitasking can cause stress, doing too many things at one time. So, multitasking, strategy 4, stop it. Now, how do you do that? First thing you want to do is to stay focused on one thing until it is completed. One thing. So what does that mean? You know, I am going to work on writing my blog. So I've decided it's going to take me 30 minutes to write my blog. I'm going to set my timer, and I am going to do nothing but that until the blog is done. I'm going to get it done in my 30 minutes. And if it's not done then I'll, you know, extend the time, but I'm only going to work on the blog. And then I can move on. My brain is free to think about the next thing. Create a reminder that you're not going to move on to a new task until you've completed the previous one. And the way that I do that is really, like I said, it's just setting my clock. I love doing that because it keeps me focused. Here's the one thing that I'm doing. The time is, my thing goes off. I'm excited when it goes off ahead of time, and it lets me know I can move on. We definitely want to eliminate distractions, you know, here too, when we're focusing on something. So we want to put our phones off and all those notifications, anything that can get you distracted from this one thing that you're working on. You want to move it away so that it's not in the way. You want to make sure that when I work on this one thing, all of my attention is on it. And then you really want to make this a habit of just doing one thing, getting that one thing done and moving on to the next thing. Okay, last strategy. Do you like this one? It's called just say no. Now, I love this because Steve Jobs says that the art of leadership is saying no, not yes. and we tend to like to say yes. But if we're going to eliminate distractions, we've got to say no. And we have to recognize that no is not a negative or a selfish word. In fact, if we're working on something that's going to really benefit others, then we need to say no. Because if we do, if we let someone get us all caught up in spending time playing a game over here, instead of doing our work, no would have been better, right? Because we could have had a better outcome if we had said no. No allows us to set boundaries. No becomes like another way to manage that time. And so you want to do that. Well, here is some other things to remember about no. When you're looking at your yes list, it should be short. Your no list should be really long. Take a look at all the activities you're in. When this is over, just make a list of, here are all the things, all the activities, and how much time am I spending? And are some of these activities, can I just say no to these? I don't really need to do that. So get rid of them, get them out. They're distracting you from your goals. Meetings, oh my gosh, right? We spend a lot of time in meetings. So when you can eliminate meetings, you want to eliminate meetings. Now, I'm in a lot of groups and I manage that. I don't go to all those meetings. I may not attend every month the meeting of the group because I'm not going to spend 6 hours or 4 hours in that meeting because it's keeping me away from what I have to do. Or I may go to the meeting and I only spend 2 hours at the meeting or an hour at the meeting. And I tell everybody, oh, I've got something else I've got to take care of. Because guess what? I'm staying focused on my goals, not getting caught into the meeting and everybody else's goals and walk out with what? More things to do that don't relate to what I am trying to accomplish. So it's called just say no. People can be draining and you have to say no to them too. So I want you to find out who is the drainer around you. And then you got to manage them as well. So, and free yourself from those individuals. You can say no to customers and organizations and projects. Don't chase every opportunity. Every opportunity is not a good opportunity. So, it causes you to spend some time, takes you away from that which you're really trying to do. And then what about websites and social media and all that? Say no to that too. There's some websites you don't need to be visiting because you're going to get off and spend a whole lot of unnecessary time. Some social media platforms maybe you don't need to be bothered with, but you want to give some consideration to what are the things that I need to say no to because they're distracting me from my goals. So everybody, here's the bottom line. Bottom line is that distractions occur all the time. They're around us all the time. And they have an impact. And we realize that they can, cause us to make mistakes. They can cost us money. It slows us down. Those are all the impact of these distractions. But you can eliminate them. And you can do that by just taking charge first of how you spend your time. You can also eliminate the distractions by just taking care of yourself, making sure that you are freeing your mind to stay focused, making sure you have the energy to do the things that you need to do. You can eliminate distractions by just making sure your environment is ready for you so that you can really not be distracted by it. And then you also can do it by just stopping all this multitasking that is distracting you in order to get one thing done at a time. And yes, you can say no. So I hope after this webinar, you will practice saying no and using that to control your time. What's next? I would like to suggest that you first spend a little time assessing your distractions. We've got a list of all the different things in the different areas. Get a sense of, what is really taking me away from what it is that I want to accomplish and do. And then I want you to select one distraction, because we can't tackle them all at a time, but pick one that you're going to focus on. And over the next 30 days, implement the strategy and see how you're doing at eliminating that distraction. So that's my challenge to you. Are you up for the challenge? Can I get a yes? Going to do it? I look forward to hearing that you're going to try it. Yay, yes, awesome, good. That's what I want to hear. So I'd like to invite you, if you haven't already, to join us. I have a Best Life community, and this is the link that you can go to and become a part of this community. In this community, I am sharing information all the time that will help you towards living your best life. You'll have a chance to connect with other people, other experts in the community. I host different events in the community. So you'll get a chance to, pick and choose things that might be of interest to you as you pursue living your best life. And because you're on the webinar, you get to have 30 minutes of my time. And there's an opportunity for you to schedule a time. It says book time with me. So you get to go out and find 30 minutes that might work for you based upon the times that I've listed that's available on the calendar and some of the things that we can talk about. You can pick and choose what you might want to do with your 30 minutes, but might want to talk about, want me to help you to figure out how to assess your distractions. Oh, good. Somebody just said they eliminated cable news a few months ago. That's great. Yeah, I do that too. I cut out listening. So thank you for sharing that, because I really do. It's a distraction, right? You get all caught up in all of what everybody's talking about. So minimizing that's great. I would love for you to think about, any questions later you might have about strategies. We could talk about that. I could help you figure out how to implement some of the strategies in your life. I have some tools I'd love to share with you when we're talking. I've got tools that I use to create my best day that you might be interested in, and other ways in which we can do some things together. So I hope tonight has been helpful to you, and that you will get focused on making sure that you eliminate these distractions, because it really is about making the best use of your time so that you can live your best life now. Thank you for joining in. And if you have any other questions or comments, let me know. Otherwise, book some time with me, and I'll be happy to chat with you individually about your own personal needs. Thank you.